Let's begin this video by clarifying that you don't need to have played any of the other games to enjoy Final Fantasy XVI. It's a standalone game, and it's set in a dark medieval-styled fantasy world and follows a young man named Clive. Here is what you need to know about Clive. He is the son of the Archduke of Rosaria. Despite being the firstborn, Clive did in fact not inherit the power of the fire icon Phoenix from his father. This was passed on to his younger brother instead. To still find a purpose for himself, Clive dedicated himself to mastering the blade, and that paid off for him, because at 15 years old he was tasked with protecting his younger brother, and so he was blessed with the Phoenix, which allowed Clive to at least use part of its flames. The game has a big shift from earlier Final Fantasy games. Instead of turn-based battles or hybrid systems, they have gone full action combat. If you are familiar with games like Devil May Cry, then you will probably feel right at home here. Clive excels in close quarters combat due to the potency and amount of close range abilities he possesses, but he is able to attack from a distance when necessary. You can dodge, counter and pull off combos, and as you progress, you unlock more elements like wind, fire and lightning, which you can swap between during fights. The boss fights in particular can be very wild and intense in this game. The story is a big focus in this game. There are tons of cutscenes and dialogue, and their quality is very good. Chances are that if you enjoyed Game of Thrones, then you will have a blast in this game, as the game is often said to be heavily inspired by the Game of Thrones series, whether it's the setting and characters, the world building approach, or the execution of certain plot points, as you expect from a Final Fantasy game. The music and voice acting is not going to disappoint you. The game tries to tackle some pretty heavy themes, like the effects of violence, the cost of power, and how people deal with trauma. Final Fantasy XVI is not an open world game, it's a more linear experience, with some open but still segmented sections to explore. Don't expect spectacular and meaningful side quests in this game, like they are present in the God of War games for example. There are some that stand out, either from a story perspective or an interesting boss fight, but most of them are pretty simple fetch quests and don't add too much to the story. Out of the 76 side quests, maybe 10 or 15 have any substance to them. On the RPG side, things are a bit stripped down. You can upgrade Clive's skills through skill trees, and there's some basic equipment, but it's not as deep as some earlier games in the series. So there's story, characters, and the big flashy moments and battles are very impressive in this game, but the parts in between can drag a bit. And that sentence concludes today's video. If your time was respected, a like or comment is very much appreciated.